Hello everyone, I'm Terry Duke and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm back with yet another Warband mod for you to try out, and it's called 457 AD, Last Years of the Western Empire. As always, if you enjoy the content, feel free to support the channel with a like and subscribe, and if you have other mods for me to try out, let me know in the comments. Now let's do this. .457 AD is a historical mod centering around Europe, North Africa, and the Middle East. In 457 AD, the Roman Empire is on the verge of collapse. From this decaying empire, many factions have risen to challenge it. 457 AD is actually built on top of two massive mods, Britannwalda and Out Caesar Out Nihil, which I'm totally mispronouncing, so I will simply refer to it as ACAN from now on. If you've seen my videos on those, you know I love them. If you haven't, well, to sum it up, Britannwalda is one of the oldest yet most influential mods of Mount & Blade Warband. Set in the UK during the Dark Ages, the mod has a reputation for being very hard, but also very innovative. ACAN, on the other hand, essentially took Britannwalda, set it during the peak of the Roman Empire, and brought micro-kingdom management to the absolute extreme. So to put 457 AD in context, if you have Britannwalda on one side, bringing tons of new features to Warband, and ACAN on the other, taking those new features much further, 457 AD is somewhere in the middle, both historically and in terms of scope. As far as ambitious mod goes, 457 AD is right up there with the best of them. You have a huge map covering all historical factions of the time, and it's all reinforced with beautiful scenery and tons of historically accurate weapons and armors. As the player, you get the choice to start as either a solo adventurer, which is the usual, or a lord or a king. Starting as an adventurer, you will quickly notice the mod's difficulty. NPCs fight much harder, some of them are also very fast. Because of that, you will quickly want to get a warband. And that's where recruiting gets interesting. Unlike most mods, 457 AD allows you to recruit troops from castles and towns once you get sufficient renown. But in towns and castles, you typically have a fairly large pool of recruits, often over 20. And you can actually choose the troop type as you hire them. So if you're short on cash, you could, say, hire 20 recruits. But if you have enough money to hire elite troops, you could hire 20 veteran spearmen instead. This feature is so simple, yet so efficient that I'm baffled no other mod has introduced this before. The large pool of recruits saves on a ton of grind from going village to village, and the option to recruit at higher tiers can save you the trouble of risking your weaker troops in battle for the XP. In terms of battles, given the time period, tactics are focused primarily on skirmishing and fighting on foot. As such, cavalry is very expensive and javelin throwers are more common than archers. A lot of the battle tactics, such as the use of ranks, can be traced back to Britannwalda, but I feel 457 AD does it better. For instance, javelins are just much more prevalent, and throwing them against rows of enemies is just so brutal, but also satisfying as hell. Come on, come on. Oh shit, no, come on. Oh shit. In terms of the map itself, like I said, there are many factions, so you could spend a lot of time fighting for a kingdom over a small portion of the map before moving on somewhere else. But the mod also offers many unique quests, which can be found talking to people in taverns, or discovering secret locations while traveling. These range from finding items, to killing a few targets, to joining factions for war. Not to spoil it, but there is a quest called the Battle of Finnsburg, which is very ambitious, and the Viking Conquest vibe is real with this one. Some quests also have you interacting with smaller, isolated factions. These are spread out throughout the map, and you have the option of trading with them, or attacking the settlements to seize control and turn them into tributaries. So while you can't use them to start a faction, once you've taken them, they give you a significant passive income, as well as recruits for your warband. Between the variety of quests and the high demand for mercenaries across the entire map, 457 AD ensures that you will never be bored. Starting a King sandbox actually feels a lot like starting a Total War campaign, as your character and faction options are limited to which historical ruler you want to be. And the initial difficulty will be based on the historical setting as well, so I chose the Roman Emperor and immediately found myself at war with many of my neighbors. And with so few lords to help out over so much land area, losing castles and getting your villages raided is inevitable, as was the collapse of the Western Empire. In terms of kingdom management, it's about everything I would hope for. We got the diplomacy submod, but also some layers from ACAN, such as when building town projects. However, 457 AD took the micromanagement down quite a lot, and I welcome that. The intense management of Akan is really not for everybody, and that makes 457 AD much more accessible. My only issues right now with the mod are the sieges and small party size. Sieges currently are pretty much like native, except garrisons are fairly larger, so sieges are often just a long grind on a single choke point. And starting as a ruler, the party size is about 300, which isn't nearly high enough. Given the logistical difficulty of starting a military campaign with so few lords, you need to be able to field a large warband by yourself. Akan let us start with a party size of 800, and that's so much better. As it stands, having a party of 300 only lets you respond to attacks within your own homeland. Depending on the faction you choose, going on the offensive is almost impossible. In conclusion, 457 AD is actually a pretty solid mod that covers a historical period that I feel doesn't get enough coverage today. It feels like culturally we always jump from the might of the Roman Empire straight to the Middle Ages, but a campaign map during one of the most chaotic times in Europe history makes for a really cool mod. It's also noteworthy to point out the sheer dedication to historical accuracy. It would be easy for modders to grab items made from other mods, like Roman and medieval armors, to use in their own mods, but by covering such a specific time period like no one else did, the modders went to great length to recreate the armors and weapons from the time period. The research is often shared on my Discord server, and it's seriously impressive. This is where I also say that unlike many other mods I've reviewed so far, I was in direct contact with one of the modders throughout making this video, and was able to share my thoughts and get some insights on the future of the mod, which only makes it all the more promising. For instance, I was informed that the Brittlewalda siege mechanic would most likely get introduced in the next update, and they're also working on making the small locations possible starting point for a character faction. These two things alone would already improve significantly an already solid mod, so I'm looking forward to what the 450 AD modders do next. Speaking of which, since they've created so many new assets to make this mod, they've also decided to port the mod to the remaster of Rome Total War. That's right, the modding team is also currently working on their own mod for a Total War game, also called 457 AD, where many of the same items created for Warband are now worn by Total War units. The mod isn't out yet, but not gonna lie, it's pretty awesome that they're doing that. But anyway, if you enjoy historical mods, ambitious mods, mods with unique quests, and are curious about this time period that doesn't get enough credit, then 457 AD is absolutely for you. Thanks for watching, everyone. It's been a while since I've done a Warband mod video, so hopefully I haven't lost my touch. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'm still looking for mods to try out, so feel free to drop your recommendations down below. Thanks again, and have a good one.